Good evening, Alberta landlord community. How's everyone doing? My name is Mackenzie Wilson. It's been a bit long overdue, but getting back into the swing of things with us being in September and back to getting some live shows scheduled for you. So for tonight will be a bit of a quick one. Not so much on the landlording side, but I figured we're at the end of summer and I got Brett Turner waiting here to give us a market update. So we'll go through our August numbers, talk about some trends. And as always, since the market's always changing, this will be a good opportunity for folks looking to expand or build up their portfolio, or those looking to exit. Is this a good time to sell, or all that good stuff? Brett will be able to paint that picture and give us some context on to make a more informed decision with your portfolio. So without further ado, let's get Mr. Brett Turner on the show. Brett, good evening, my friend. How's it going?
I'm doing really good, Mackenzie. How are you tonight?
Fantastic. So we had a bit of a summer break. Chris and I kind of stayed in the weeds for a bit, kept it kind of quiet, but we're getting back in the swing of things. And for tonight, I'd love to get a quick market update from you. I know we talked offline. You had some interesting things. We're coming into not only a federal election for our prime minister, but we also have our municipal election with city councilors and our mayor coming up here too. So we've got some interesting things coming in with real estate. So I'll give you the floor and take
I'm
away.
looking forward to it's going to be an exciting fall in terms of the political landscape here. And it always seems to shake things up for the Calgary economy and for the Alberta economy as well. We've got two different levels of government that are coming our way here for changes here this fall. So we won't get into the politics here today, but what I hope to do today is let everybody know how things are before we go into a new political landscape for the Calgary market, and then also the federal election coming up here this fall too. So, Mackenzie, at the beginning of the year, in January, end of December is always a really popular time when you're in the real estate industry, because everybody wants you to make a prediction for the year. And, what do you think 2021 is going to look like? And so many, real estate experts and thought leaders and all of that basically throwing darts at the board, trying to predict what was going to happen in 2021 here this year. Now, I didn't predict a down market to start the year, but I did predict an even one, and I think I was like around 1% growth or something like that.
I was gonna say, I can recall we did this show, and I think you gave her a 1.5 growth, our first growth in some time in years, right? So how did we fare compared to your prediction?
Well, we did a lot better than 1.5, and I'll kind of show that here. I mean, the year's not done yet, but we would certainly have to have one heck of a poor fourth quarter and a little bit here to erase the gains that we've made here in 2021, Mackenzie. But we've had a really good year in spite of a lot of craziness, as a result of the pandemic, and we're on again and we're off again. And, we've had forest fires, we've had all measure of uncertainty, but it certainly hasn't slowed the real estate market down. In fact, it started to speed it up. And so what I'm hoping I can do today, Mackenzie, is just take a brief minute to show like some stats of what has actually happened, the data that is in our marketplace right now. Because it will affect many things for Alberta landlords. If you've got a lot of properties and you may now have an opportunity to shake up your portfolio a little bit. So if you've got some ones that you want to get rid of, now could be a really good time to start thinking about that because we have a more active market. Or if you like owning rental properties, I do feel it's a really great time to speed things up and prepare yourself for what I think is going to be a very exciting finish to our year and an early look to 2022, Mackenzie.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I know you had some stats and some charts you're going to show us. So
let me pull one of these up here, and then give me 1 second here.
Yeah, I'll give you a moment to share your screen, and I'll kind of hang out and paint some more pictures, which I always love these conversations because, again, there's been no short of excitement in not only our local economy, but provincially. And now we're in this snap election. They gave us something like, was it 36 days to make a decision here? So there's so many things at play. I mean, if you're looking again to sell or buy right now, I mean, there's a lot to consider. And you know what? I mean, we don't really know what's going on with this election. There's I remember the NDP, is it I'm looking up by butcher's name, Jasmine Singh,
Yeah.
was advocating for capital gains, increasing it up to, I think it said 65%, if I read the headlines correct. So, you know, obviously I don't foresee them coming on top in the election, but they probably will have some sort of swing vote depending on what type of minority government we get. And I'm thinking it's going to become a minority. But all right, I do see your shared screen. So let's get that queued up.
Yeah.
And back to you.
So what we're looking at here, Mackenzie, so again, for anybody who's watching, this is the Calgary Market, or the Calgary Real Estate Board, which covers a pretty wide area in southern Alberta. But generally speaking, what's happened in Calgary is largely similar to what's happened in the broader Alberta market. And so this graph is a bit of a busy graph, and I'll show a couple other ones later to sort of explain things. But a couple of really important things here to notice. We've got this red line here, our benchmark price. And you can see that right from the beginning of the year, we really started to take off. And I could feel this happening in our market at the tail end of last year, in October, November of last year, Mackenzie. We really started to see things start to go. And you can see here, we've had increased sales activity. We've had increased listings to kind of match that, or close to it anyway. And our pricing, which started at about $424,000 in the fourth quarter of 2020, has now come up to just under $460,000 as we head into the fourth quarter here, the latter of the third quarter in Alberta, Mackenzie. So a sharp rise in prices, and this is across the entire city of Calgary, all the different asset classes. So condos built in, we've got detached homes have been built into that. And so this is a really great sign. I think a lot of Albertans have been waiting for this for a while. And now we've had this chance to actually see a little bit of market growth, and you can feel it out there. You know, we've had lots more activity. You know, our realtors are talking about multiple offers. Things are moving quickly. Lots of off-market trading activity for really hot properties, particularly rental property, Mackenzie. Lots of that stuff doesn't hit the active market. But it's been a much funner market to be in this year, and we've increased by double digits here this year, just under, I think, just over 10% so far here year to date, Mackenzie.
Yeah, and to add on to what you're saying from our landlord and rental perspective, my rents have gone up, so I can certainly echo this growth from our rental rate perspective as well, which has been nice to see too.
You bet. So I'm going to try another one here. Is this coming up? I'm not sure if it is or not.
Still seeing the same graph. You might have to click and drag it back to the same window, or...
Okay. I shared a window here. Maybe I need to close one just to see here. Let's try that.
Okay. So, you just shared that actual window, not the screen. So you have to go back and reshare. Yeah.
Okay. Let me share it one more time. Sorry, guys.
Oh, good.
Only have to do this a couple times, I promise.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, some questions I was thinking while we're kind of prepping for the show too is I recall seeing that we had the oil patches rebounded quite well. It's doing well, and it's brought back results and erased some of our lofty spending of our government bodies. So I was curious to see your take on that too, and perhaps some other trends you're seeing in the market right now with the headlines.
Well, I mean, I think whenever the oil and gas market does well, it always bodes well for the province of Alberta, Mackenzie, and I don't think anyone is regretting seeing health within that industry right now. Yeah. But I'm really looking at it more as a stabilizing factor for our real estate market. I'm not looking at it as a return to the glory days of the mid 2000s. I just don't think the world is looking for that from the energy industry anymore right now. But for the time being, we're still very much an oil and gas based energy economy, and as a result of that, Alberta is doing well. We're doing better here this year, but I see it more as a stabilizing factor. I don't think we're going to see a whole pile of additional jobs that are being created in a crazy run like we've seen in the past, Mackenzie.
No, that's great perspective.
So what we're looking at here are the total sales figures. And so the reason why I wanted to pull this up is to kind of illustrate the market cycles. And this will be really relevant to my next slide that I want to show you after this one. But if you look here, On the left-hand side of the graph, we're going back about 10 years here, and you can see the last growth market that we had, how consistent it was with increased sales activity in 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. And then, of course, we all remember 2015 when we had the big shakeup there and our oil and gas economy was really rattled. And then we dropped right back down kind of into the doldrums, and we had our sales numbers sort of falling down here and trailing off for about 6 years. And 2020, we had the pandemic in there. So, of course, a heck of a lot less sales as a result of that. But now 2021 has shot right back up, Mackenzie. And this is a really interesting sign, a really, an interesting element, I think, because you can look at it from two different ways. We have had lower interest rates. But we've also had an awful lot of pent-up demand. There's a lot of people in here that wish they could have sold their house and bought something more, but the market just wasn't favorable for a trade within their price bracket. But what we are seeing now is people are getting back into it. They've taken 3 to 4 years here of paying off their mortgage. They've got a little bit more room. And with this extra price increase that we've seen, Mackenzie, we have a lot more sales this year, well above the 10-year average and just under our peak year of the last 10 years in 2014.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So we've come back to be almost on par prior to that, 2015 to 2019-18 oil patch slump. So that's good to see that come back. Now, I guess the $1 million question: do you foresee this continuing over the next couple of months? How does that look for you, Brett?
I do. Yeah. So before I jump into what I think the market is going to do here next year, let me try to share one more with you.
Sounds good.
Which I think will also help. Now, I don't know if I can do this any different, if I can share a window.
You'll have to reshare it again.
I will have to reshare it. Sorry, I've got to get a little bit better at my StreamYard sharing here, but one moment.
We'll make good practice with it.
Bear with me here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no worries. So Christine had just commented, we're seeing the same increases in Lethbridge as well. I'm sure she's talking about rent, which is awesome to see it. So it's not just a regionalized or one city only. We are seeing it across the board. I've heard comments as well from Edmonton and Red Deer as well. And folks, if anyone's watching from, say, up north in GP, I'd love to hear your feedback too, what's going on in the market as well. Cool. And I just saw your chart come up, so we'll get it shared right now.
Great. Thanks, Mackenzie. So this particular graph is my favorite graph to tell me how active a market is. And you can use this in any market you ever go to. So if you're looking at a rental property in a market you're not familiar with, or you've got a family member, or you're looking at moving into an area that you don't know anything about, if you ask the local realtor there to provide you with a months of inventory or a months of supply graph, it will show you whether or not you're in a buyer's market or seller's market, because the prices might not mean anything to you. If prices are coming up a lot, it might not mean a lot to you. But what months of supply is the number of months that it would take to sell through all of the existing inventory that's on the active market, given the current rate of sales that market is observing. And the general consensus is that if you are looking at under 3 months worth of supply, then you are very much in a seller's market. If you've got more than 4 months worth of supply, then you are in a buyer's market, Mackenzie. And that's something that I love to look at, because sellers and sellers realtors will look at this with their pricing strategy, and buyers can look at this when they're about to enter the market to know, should they expect to be in multiple offers? Should they expect a lot more competition from other buyers within the market? And if you look here, you can see that right at the middle of 2020, just as we started to come down here, this took off, or sort of dropped right down. And this is what you want to see if you're looking for signs that a market is genuine, and that the price increases that are happening are real, and there is a result of great demand, and it matches what we saw on the price graph. You want generally speaking, your months of supply will come down as your pricing is going up, and that's exactly what happened here. And we currently sit now just above 2%. So we're in a seller's market right now in Calgary, Mackenzie, and it looks like with the trending that we've had here, we're likely to stay in that range, or in a balanced market range, likely for the fourth quarter of this year, heading into 2022, Mackenzie.
Awesome. I really love the insights that you can pull from this graph and the picture. And so I might state the obvious, but so you're saying, above 4 is a
If
seller's
you're
market.
above 4, you're in a buyer's market. If you're above 3, you're in a buyer's market. It
Yep.
just means that there's enough inventory out there that it's going to, sellers are going to
Yeah.
expect to take longer for, their properties to sell. So you've got more supply than you have than demand, which is usually what you would see if you were having
Right.
prices kind of drop down. And you can see that back here in some of the markets we had that were a little lean. We had months of supply here at 4 or up in the 2018, 2019. You can see here how
Yeah.
it was trending up. And that's when our market was trending down right before the pandemic and all of this great money entering into the economy here and a shake up kind of everywhere. And then you can see here it really started to come down, Mackenzie, as we've had a great year in 2021.
Perfect. And what would be that balanced middle ground? What would you define that as, just for a benchmark for us that help understand the graph?
Like the this bound, like what do you mean? Sorry, the
So what would be kind of the middle ground where you're shifting from that buyers to the
okay.
sellers, or
Yep.
where it's kind of a very even market? What would
Yep,
you define that
3.
as?
If you've got 3 months worth of supply, 90 days on the market, that is an even market. I would consider an even market to be anywhere really from about 2.7 months worth of supply up to 3.3, somewhere in that range. Is a very healthy market to be in. It's a fair market. There's not a lot of games happening. It's not a frenzied market. You can have conditions in your offer. And so you can buy with confidence and you can list with confidence if you've got a nice clean property. When months of supply drops down to like 2 or less, that's when things get a little crazy and a little irrational. And you can get multiple offers with 5 or 6 different buyers, and you have that sort of frenziness in the market, which I don't think is a healthy for any market to be like that for a long period of time. But we did dip into that range for a little bit here this summer. And I do suspect, Mackenzie, that we'll see that period again for a little bit next year too.
Oh, super insightful. Thanks, Brett.
So why don't you take me out of screen share mode, and then I can, great. So, I mean, in terms of what this means looking forward, I really do think that anybody that is in the investment property game that's a landlord, I mean, you are doing this because you want your real estate assets to, provide for you in the future. And I really do think that Alberta, at least Calgary, has an awful lot of signs that are pointing towards us having a fantastic year in 2022. And I really do feel that we have much lower downside risk than we have upside potential. We're coming off a year, Mackenzie, with right around 10% market growth. And I think it's highly likely that we will be in, at least the mid to high single digits here heading into next year as well.
That's great news. And how are you? What drivers are you seeing that's giving us those numbers?
Well, there's 2 key ones. Well, I guess 3. For one, we've had an awful lot of money pumped into our economy, and so we've certainly seen a little bit of inflationary economics and tactics from our government to get us through the pandemic, and that is finding its way into hard assets. What's really important for consumers, and we've seen them value the roof over their heads. I mean, it makes sense when you're being told to stay inside for a year. You want to be inside a comfortable house, right? And so people are putting that into real estate, and it's lifting up rents, and it's lifting up property prices as well. So I think that's one factor that when you've had hundreds of billions of dollars pumped in, that's going to take a while to work its way out of our economy. And so I think that's certainly going to provide some momentum. Interest rates continue to be very low and very affordable. And I think that's going to bode well as well for the affordability picture that is becoming very much a political item. We're hearing all of the political parties talk about what to do about housing affordability. There's a generation of Canadians out there right now that feels as though they could be left behind as they work to achieve home ownership. And that can be good for us landlords because they're going to be our tenants for a while. But at the same way, affordability is going to be a major factor. And that element is what I think is our ace in the hole here in Alberta, is because if you look at our average prices, We've come up by 10%, but we started off in Calgary at Calgary, $424,000 in the fall of last year was the average price here in Calgary. Now we're at around 460. If you're looking at Toronto, it's almost $1 million, right? If you're looking at the GTA, or it's insane. It's 7 figures, and in the Lower Mainland, it's over that in Vancouver, and so.
Not even comparable.
By comparison, we're incredibly affordable here, and we've got an awful lot of suburban single-family homes and the type of places that families want to live in. We're in the type of economy now where more and more people can work remotely. They don't have to go and drive into the office, and I think all of that stuff is a really great sign for our local economy here in Calgary and the broader Alberta real estate economy, Mackenzie. And I think all of those things lead towards a lot of upside potential, an awful lot of runway for our pricing picture here in Calgary and in Alberta. And that's part of why I think we're going to have a really great year next year. And so the fall and the winter is when the best deals are usually available for landlords. And it would be a great time to start looking if you've got aspirations of owning a portfolio of rental properties as we carry into this wave.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you kind of got me thinking as you kind of covered those different trends. Something else I would have thought by now is we'd have our border open to the south of us.
Yeah.
People still can't travel down in the States by car or vehicle. The only way to go down right now is flying, which maybe some people might find a little more expensive. So this maybe fund or budget they'd have for a family vacations is not being spent as well. It's talking about that money being built up and again has to go somewhere. So all the more reason why we might be seeing these stronger numbers that you pointed out to, Brett. So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to totally segue on is the whole point of this, the mission or my big purpose I'm trying to put together for this community is educating the landlords to run a better business, to stay in the game longer, to get those financial goals they want. And I truly do believe if we got more people providing basement suites and these different types of entry-level rental properties, we are going to help that affordability picture. So we do definitely play a big key in it, being the mom and pop landlords of Alberta.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to remember that the vast majority of rental property is actually made up by individual private landlords. It's people like us that are within the community here that make up a lot of the demographic of rental property owners. And so many Canadians are wisely looking at real estate as a income stream for them during uncertain economic times, or as a look ahead into retirement. And so I do feel that, while I would have said this last year, that last year was the best time to buy real estate, but now you've actually got a year's worth of solid market data to look at to give you that confidence that there's thousands and thousands of people that are investing in Calgary as we start to see pricing come up. And so if you've been on the sidelines, if you've been a little unsure about where our economy is going, I certainly think that we're less risky now. And that if you've been on the fence, it might be a good time to talk to a good pro about what you can do to add a couple properties this winter here, Mackenzie.
Yeah, absolutely. We're price comparative again to our neighbors to the west in BC and then out in Ontario. We're very affordable, and it makes the numbers look good when you're running your numbers in the ROI. And the last thing that you kind of got me thinking about too when we're talking about this pandemic is probably something I expect to stay is a lot more companies will be adopting some hybrid or a work from home model.
Yep.
So that will really open up the rentability of maybe more of these suburban area properties that weren't typically looked at before. So diamonds in the rough are everywhere out there for people who are looking.
We are seeing new asset classes open up. I mean, typically the only way to really make money in Calgary was with a suited property. Now we've seen new construction suited property that are built by the builders that sell for just over $500,000. You make $3,200 a month in revenue from these things. We've also got townhouses now that we're seeing are starting to work as rental properties because they have that extra bedroom in the basement or that extra bedroom upstairs to serve as an office for people on Zoom all day long. And they are starting to command higher rental rates than they would have before. Same thing with some of the smaller starter homes we're starting to see, people consider those as investment properties too, Mackenzie, and the numbers are not too far off on them either. So a really interesting time to be a landlord in Alberta here right now, and something I think we should all be excited about as we head into the fall and winter months.
Very cool, Brett. I love the insights. I love these conversations because it's always changing to something new. A year ago or 2 years ago, in-house office was a mute point, and now it's like, hey, do you have that in your rental? That's your advantage in the game right now, to have your competitive, to set yourself apart from the other folks. All right, so this is a good point. We'll probably wrap it up here. We did go a little bit longer, but man, that was a wealth of information, Brett. So we really appreciate it. Thank you for that. And we've got a special announcement that you're definitely a part of. So you know what? How about you take the thunder here and tell?
Well, I don't want to steal it away from you, Mackenzie, but I love to talk, man. So that works for me. But well, one of the things we've been missing during the pandemic has been live events. And the Alberta landlord community, we talk about the business of landlording, but we're all landlords because we're real estate investors. We're into this and we're strategic with what we do. And so the real estate investing part is very similar to the landlord community, but we talk a little bit more about how to buy properties, how to manage your portfolio, how to grow, how to deal with banks and mortgages and lawyers and realtors and all of that sort of thing. And so we're looking ahead to a live event, Mackenzie, because we want to get everybody together, and it's been a while for that. And I'm certainly looking forward to opening up our office in Calgary for your Southern Alberta meetup here, which I believe goes on, is it the 23rd? I think it is, right?
September 23rd. It's a Thursday, 7 o'clock. So yes, Brett, thank you for hosting us. I've done this in the past, so having a place to actually land and have people kind of congregate and do some social or do some networking and all that helps a lot. So I really appreciate Brett with Redline Real Estate stepping up to host our first inaugural meetup. Well, it won't be inaugural. It will be a monthly thing. But yeah, absolutely. September 23rd, 7 p.m. It's open to anyone in the community. So if you guys want to come down from Red Deer or outside the city or even Edmonton, I certainly welcome it. I'll be looking at expanding it further, but we're going to start one place right now, which is close to my home, me here being in Calgary. And it's going to be a little bit of info sessions and a little bit of networking and some Q&A, and we'll have some experts at the show. I've got some great partners on page, including Brett Turner as well. So we'll have a good conversation.
It's gonna be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. We got a great office that can seat dozens of people in there. And if you're interested in rubbing shoulders with other landlords in Alberta, I'd encourage you to make the trip in.
Absolutely. So in the upcoming days, I'll get a sign up link going for you so you can get registered. And we hope to see you guys again September 23rd, 7 p.m. We get to meet in person and skip a Zoom or two. So come on, join us.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, on that note, we'll end it. And Brett, thanks very much for the information tonight. And we'll see you guys again in the community. Everyone.